Hey everyone, how are we doing today? Thank you for joining Archangel Alts, and we are moving on to our next lesson plan. So very exciting stuff. All right, so we've gone over an overview, we've done an overview of the basic chart. Looking at our charts, we have our timeline down here. We have our value of the coin up through here, and we're measuring each section of time with a single candle. And by candle, we mean this line, and it builds up and down, and it'll develop a wick in one direction or the other, or neither, or both. And each of them, once that piece of time frame is over, it'll move on to the next one. And each one is either an entry or an exit point, and it's measuring the bull versus bear war that is going on, and that's the doji candle. That's the doji is all of the different things that can happen in the movement. And when you take the 8 different variations and the 8 ways that they can vary, you end up with 64 possible combinations overall. But the most telling part of it is really the live action, not what has already transpired, but as it changes through that time frame. You only see where it ended up, and therefore what it goes into next. This can go up and down, change patterns. So that happens within those periods of time. You get more information the closer you go in, but you also need to not forget where you're coming from. So that's what's going on there, and you'll notice down here I have my volume turned on. So now what we're going to do is just go over an overview of the indicators that we're going to use along with the chart. And then I will break those down into each indicator. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, explain what it is basically that it is doing, and move on to the next one, and then kind of show you what they all look like together, how they overlap, etc. And then, the conclusion of this is just understanding that your indicators are used to add information. And they're all used to visualize that information. Everything is based on math, taking time and numbers and doing things with them. Averaging things over time to give you a better perspective of what you're looking at live. And all of that is to make determinations about what's going to happen next, what happens in the future. If we all knew that, then there'd be no guesswork and there'd be no point in this. Since we don't, people take different stabs at it, and they hedge against being wrong a certain amount unless you do it our way, which we're just trying to nail it and get it right every time. So if we weren't able to do that, we'd have to try something else, but it seems to be going pretty good. So right here with your chart, you can change to looking at 5-minute increments of time. You can change to 15-minute increments of time. Whatever you align that to, your indicators are going to follow that track as well. They're going to track the same thing. Everything from your 24-hour volume to your highs and your lows, the current updating price that we have over here. All these different things that are going on, they all work together to give you a lot of information, and especially at certain times when something changes drastically or moves in your favor very quickly, you need to assess so many different pieces of information so quickly, it's easy to try to simplify that into a visual form. That's what's going on with your indicators. All of them are giving you predictive visual information about what's happened so that you can get it right when you're guessing what comes next. So if you think of, just total chance, let's say you think, okay, this happened here, I think it's going to go down and then come down to here. And once we're here, I think it's going to go up to here, so I'm going to put in a position to clear there. If you have nothing to go on, you're probably going to be right 50% of the time. Now, the odds against that are exponentially more complex than 50-50, but let's just say, out of a 1% chance that you're going to be right, if you're just completely arbitrary, it's going to lean one or the other. You're either going to be right or wrong, and you have nothing giving you a balance or an advantage in either direction. So, an overview of the indicators we're going to use. First of all, let me tell you, everybody has their different combination that they use, and most people, look at that, as somebody's got it right on the line at 38.50. Isn't that something? And so we are going up a little bit in volume. Hey, these things happen while we're studying, so you got to look at what's going on. Got to do it. Uh-oh, it broke it. 38.49 and 70 cents. So just, go ahead, stop what you're doing. And it looks like the 6 a.m. crowd is very negative. Okay, so as we look at our indicators, some people will use a moving average, which in this case looks like this. You can see these lines and they sometimes cross over each other. Some people like to use an EMA or an exponential moving average, and these are these three lines that cross over this way. Okay, so moving average versus EMA. You can see they don't all sit in the same place. Okay, but I personally have a different combination that I think makes more sense. Here's a relative strength index. A lot of people like to use that as well. So here is the combination of indicators that we're going to use, and then each video that follows is going to be your introduction to each of those indicators, and I'm going to show you what it looks like and then give you a basic overview of how we're using them. So that just adds to your experience as you're trading live with us, that you'll know and be able to reference these videos to know exactly what it means when you see certain things. And I'll start integrating the language of those lesson plans that follow this one. I will integrate that basic explanation as I'm going through doing market analysis and trading with you. In the more advanced, we're going to do some ninja level stuff, intermediate and advanced. And if I'm doing a private trading video with our paid subscription, $99 reoccurring month, breaks down roughly $3 a day. And what a bargain if you're trying to work thousands into 10,000s, 10,000s into hundreds of thousands, hundreds into millions, etc., etc. 99 is a very small sacrifice for your future. Yes, so only in those videos will I use the more advanced explanation of the things that we're doing. So if you're casually interested in this and you're trying to get by and you're just getting started, trust me, this is the kind of information that I wanted to have, that it took us months to kind of break through the process and break through the mud on YouTube that is not necessarily very helpful or accurate. Some of it is, very little, and not consistently so. So yeah, we're gonna do the right thing here. You got it? We got it. Good. So here are our indicators. We're going to use a combination of volume. There's your volume. MACD. There's your MACD. Bollinger Bands. There's your Bollinger Bands. StochRSI. There's your StochRSI. And VWAP. Some people say VWAP. It just seems like VWAP to me. And you may not see that one as easily. It's a yellow line passing through up here. And what I'm going to do, just to make sure that you can see it okay, I'm going to close these guys out so you can see VWAP is just this one string running through our candles, giving us this extra information here. So now, what on earth do these different things mean? Volume is volume, and that means amount. So we'll go over what that means in its own video. MACD stands for Moving Average Convergence Divergence. And so you can see that there are these two lines, and they go up and down, and they're not always doing the same thing. And at certain points, they seem to cross over and do stuff. Okay, so we have lots of information there. It's fantastic. Bollinger Bands. I love the simplicity of all these different things. And, they do not be deceived by that simplicity. They're giving you an unimaginably interesting and complex amount of information about stuff. Doesn't mean that you always have something that does exactly what you think it'll do. Now, Bitcoin is absolutely going nuts right now. I love it. But I want the sell-off to stop, too. So I like seeing, the volume picking up eventually. That is helpful to the other coins. But I really don't want it to make our journey through where we're trying to get that much further. But unfortunately, it just did. So yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks, guys. Thank you, morning crowd. Poor Encash, it had finally made it to 47. Yep, got to do the overview. Got to take a look at this stuff. Just when you think that you're making progress. Just when you think. No, everything's good. Everything's cool. It's just frustrating. You have to go through this part of things. Hopefully it's not going to hit the 37s. I really don't want to see that happen. If it does that, it's going to accelerate a lot. Unless you're ready to buy in right now. If you're looking to buy a big old bunch of Bitcoin, yeah, buy about 30 BTC. That's a perfect number. Okay, so there's our Bollinger Bands. They look like this. They're named after Mr. Bollinger. That's why they're called that. And they're bands because we'll talk about what that means. There you go. Stochastics RSI, StochRSI, stands for Stochastics and the Relative Strength Index. And kind of similar to what we saw over here with the MACD. See these two that are sometimes crossing over, sometimes not. Okay, over here with stochastics, you can kind of see something similar. So we'd think that they would do exactly the same thing, but guess what? Very different looking, huh? This is doing this stuff, this is doing this stuff. Okay. And finally, the infamous, so simple it hurts, the VWAP or VWAP. I like saying VWAP. I mean, I don't like saying it. It's weird. It's just a weird word. But it's also not a word. VWAP stands for Volume Weighted Average Price. Brilliant, brilliant measurement. Barely anybody uses it. Barely anybody talks about it. We actually have something that is a rapid fire process that we'll be doing. I'll do it just a little bit in the free just so you can see what it is. But our rapid fire sessions will be something that is exclusive to the $99 a month recurring subscribers. It is something that I probably will never be fully comfortable with the fact that it goes as quick as it does and that I'm just going with my initial gut and that's it. But we have measured it time and time again. We put different Excel spreadsheets together to measure. And essentially, I lean towards caution and incredibly conservative in positions. So most likely when I put in a position, there's a chance that it won't actually activate. I'm too low for it to jump down and grab it. But if it does activate, then we look at, which ones would clear at a profit. And our percentage tends to stay remarkably high, even with that, inside of minutes and hours. A lot of positions can be cleared that way. So we may try to push me out of the comfort zone and do a lot of that, but we'll at least do a little. But when we do that, this is the only indicator I will use is the VWAP. And there's a reason for that, but not a very good one. It's just an instinct thing. It's very weird. But used in conjunction, fantastic indicator. So now you've seen this is your volume. This is your MACD. This is your stochastics RSI. I always skip that for some reason. This is your Bollinger Bands. And this is your VWAP. So that's what they all look like on their own. Now let's add them all together. You can see you lose a little bit of space on your candles when you do this. So having a big screen, definitely helpful. There's your Bollinger Bands. There's your stochastics RSI, StochRSI, and a VWAP. Look very hard because the yellow is against the white up there. And I'm calibrated to that. I don't have any problems with it. If I need to change it, I can change it. In fact, yep. So that's how everything looks together. Now what we're going to do is cover each one by one, give you an overview of each one, and then we're going to do an overview of using them together and what information that gives you. So I hope that you found this interesting and useful. And thank you for joining. On to the next lesson plan. Archangel Alts out.